Welcome to the in-depth guide of Drytron Megalith. Let's just dive in. What are the synergies between Drytron and Megalith? Megalith is the quickest, ritual-based deck compared to other ritual decks in terms of ritual summon and trigger effects. It can quick effect ritual summon Megalith monster from your deck on your opponent's turn. The levels requirements are between 2, 4, and 8, which is actually a good number for ritual-based deck. But it lacks ritual summon from graveyard. That's where Drytron comes in. With Metinus Drytron, you can ritual summon Megalith monster from graveyard and speed up your game more. And Megalith monster have attack points equal and below 2000, which is compatible with most Drytron monster as a 1 sacrificial. Reason I prefer this deck instead of the fairies is Herald negates need lot of resources. If you out of resources to negate, you are done. You must finish your opponents as soon as possible, but things could go sideways. This Drytron Megalith deck also have negates, but with minimal resources, with a cost on heavily rely on extra deck monsters. And for me this deck is way more flexible compared to fairies one. You can still survive with a setup board even you got negated 3 to 4 times in a turn. With Ash Blossom as the most popular hand trap that negates searching effects, it's the true counter for any Drytron combo. Since I already explained the archetype of this deck in the previous video, I'm gonna show and explain what are the stuff that you can do with this deck. These are the board setup that I always prepare. You can have passive negate or active negate board for your first turn. Passive negate monster that I use are Abyss Dweller and Bagooska, plus a Lancea on your hand, which you can always get if you go any other route. Active negates monster that I use are Apollousa and Dawn Dragster. And this is the board that you can least set up. If you brick your first hand draw, Bagooska plus PHUL on the field with extra level 4 monster and above in your hand. Bagooska can give extra layer of protection to your PHUL because your opponents will always target that monster first instead of PHUL. And this is hybrid negate board setup. Whatever the board is, always make sure that PHUL is always on the field. This card is the key player of Megalith archetype. If you need to tribute it or destroyed, you can summon it back with Megalith Emergence. So why Lancea? Lancea is a hand trap that can stop both player to banish cards until the end of the turn. Tri-Brigade cannot banish monster to link summon. Eldlets cannot banish their trap to set another trap before end phase. Drytron fairies cannot banish Eva. It even halt people to use any pot of cards. And Lancea is a fairy monster which can be searched by Ben 10. No matter what you board setup, you will always have Lancea in your first turn. Since Lancea affects both player, it can stop evenly matched. Next, why Abyss Dweller? Abyss Dweller is a generic level 4 exceed monster. It's compatible with this deck since Megalith have level 4 monster and Manju as well. Dweller can negate or stop any activated effect in your opponent's graveyard until the end of the turn. Tri-Brigade cannot activate their monster effect in the graveyard. Eldlets cannot return to the hand and stop their trap cards in the graveyard to activate in the end phase. Drytron Benton and Eva will not activate in the graveyard. Prank Kids as well. Next, why Bagooska? Bagooska can negate any monster effect on the field as long as it's in defense position, which won't negate any link monsters since they don't have defense. Good thing it's not an activated effect, so it won't be negated by any trigger negate cards. Its secondary effect will change all monster on the field to defense position, including future monster that going to be summoned. Be advised that this card negate all monster on the field, which means it will negate PHUL quick effects, but don't worry, every deck in this game needs an activated monster effect on the field, so they will always target Bagooska first instead of PHUL. Next, why Dawn Dragster? Dragster is the synchro monster that we can synchro with Diviner, our only tuner in this deck. It can negate spell and trap effect once per turn. I use this card just as a secondary negate monster, since this deck lacks spell and trap effect negate to combat Dark Hole and Harpy Feather Duster. If you know your opponents are playing Eldlets, make sure to summon Dawn Dragster to negate their spell and trap. Can this deck recover from negate effects? You can watch this duel or open the link that I gave on the top right corner, where I duel against decks that entirely negate my play. Bethor Trick. Sometimes it's quite messed up if you are too late to activate PHUL to summon Bethor in order to destroy their cards. Usually when they activate any cards that can special summon, I chained it to activate PHUL and summon Bethor, so by the time their monsters are summoned, they don't have any window to activate any of their effects before Bethor effects destroy them all. How to summon 2 Phalegs in order to finish your opponents. If your opponents summon a monster that are untargetable and indestructible by cards effect like Blue Eyes Chaos Max and Zark, means the only way to remove that monster is by attacking it. But don't worry. Phalegs can do the job. I'll show you how much attack boost can 2 Phalegs provide to other monster. If you manage to get Access Code Talker as well 2 Phalegs on the field, this is how much the damage that you can get on Access Code Talker. Megalith Unformed Trick. This card can ritual summon any Megalith monster from deck, but usually I use this to summon PHUL from deck. Because it requires 2 times the level of the Megalith that are going to be summoned. If you summon level 2 you need to tribute level 4, if summon level 4 you need to tribute level 8. Since it's a quick play spell, I can use it to dodge Veiler and Impermanence targeting negate that target Manju or any level 4 Megalith in order to letting it activate its trigger effect. Drytron Zeus Trick. If you are in doubt that your opponent might disrupt you, you can summon 2 Drytron monster and exceed summon it to Lyrilisk. Direct attack with it, and in the main phase 2, you can exceed summon it to Zeus and activate its effect. Either you clean up the board, or your opponent must waste their negate on Zeus. Apollousa Trick. Since Apollousa negate mechanics is reducing her own attacks points as the cost to negate, your opponents might baiting you to keep reducing Apollousa attack points and straight to battle phase and attack it. So they can make a play in the main phase too. But with PHUL on the field and any level 6 and above monster on your hand or field, you can ritual summon Phalegs from deck before it goes to battle phase to boost up Apollousa attack points, more negate for her. Bagooska Master Trick. I'll show you the setup and how to do it. This is the final board. Bagooska only negate all defensive position monster on the field, since Link monster cannot go to defensive position, they are unaffected by Bagooska. And this is how. First, activate PHUL and then chain Mascarena. By the time it Link summon using Bagooska, PHUL is free to activate its quick effect after. Since Bagooska still face up, Infinity cannot negate my unicorn effect. Maxx C? If you going first and your opponent activate Maxx C, and you are not brave enough to take the challenge, you can summon 2 Drytrons and exceed summon it to Lyrilisk in defense and end the turn there. In your opponent's draw phase, activate Lyrilisk effects, and you have full protection for the whole turn. And in the next turn, direct attack with it and exceed summon it to Zeus to clear the board. Either you clean up the board, or your opponent must waste their negate on Zeus. Nibiru? In order to counter Nibiru player, you must always count how many times have you summoned monsters this turn. Nibiru hand traps only active if you already summon monsters 5 times in one turn. Usually Nibiru player are greedy, but you must, as soon as possible, summon Apollousa to negate Nibiru. After that you are safe to continue your combo. Cyber Emergency Secret Effects. Cyber Emergency Secondary Effects. If destroyed it will return to your hand from graveyard and letting you to activate it again. If it's got negated and destroyed at the same time, it will activate the secondary effect. Sadly, Ash Blossom won't trigger the secondary effect since it's not destroying it. Next will be a brick tackling of this deck. It will be in the next video. Thanks for watching.